Hello everyone and welcome back to the Always Anxious podcast. I'm your host Heather, and today we're going to be talking about something super exciting, at least for me. I don't know if it's exciting for you, but today I'm going to be talking about all things Salem, Massachusetts. If you're one of my audio listeners, I'm going to kind of explain what the setup is right now. I am wrapped in a fall blanket. It's black with some pumpkins and leaves and everything, and I have a black witch hat on, and I even brewed some pumpkin spice tea in preparation for this in a little black cat mug that I got from Target a while ago. We're feeling all the fall vibes today, even though it's almost mid-March. Anytime after Christmas is fall to me. So that's just a little explanation of what I look like right now. Ooh, that tea is delicious. I didn't try it before the podcast, so I didn't. Okay, I need to stop moving in this chair because it's very squeaky. I'm all decked out in honor of talking about my favorite place on earth. I do have the fan on. I hope that's not affecting the audio too much. This blanket is super warm. Yeah, let's talk all things Salem. What I'm going to be talking about today is purely my own experience in Salem. Me rambling about how much I love this place, what it means to me, some of my favorite things, my past trips there. This is definitely not a Salem podcast. This is not a historical podcast. I could talk about those things if you want, but this episode is not going to be anything factual or historical. It's all going to be my opinion. I mean, maybe I'll throw some facts in there for you, but if you want a podcast that talks about Salem's history, I cannot recommend enough Salem the podcast. It's two local Salem tour guides, and they have talked about anything and everything to do with Salem, current happenings, past happenings. They're just very knowledgeable. Their names are Sarah and Jeffrey, and I can't recommend them enough. So if you're looking for a historical Salem podcast, that is the way to go. If you want to hear my experience in Salem, keep listening, I guess I'll start the podcast with the question I get asked the most, which is, why do I love Salem so much? And I wish there was a simple answer for this question. All of my Salem people, I feel like you understand. There's no simple answer that I could give. And it's honestly baffling to me too. It's something I wish I understood more of, because I don't know why I'm so drawn to this particular place. I've never felt this way to any other place. I've traveled out of the country, I've traveled in the country, and nothing has hit the same. Nothing has felt more like home than Salem, Massachusetts. I think my reason why has changed over the years. I fell in love with Salem for one reason, and then a million other reasons just kept popping up of why the city continues to be my favorite place on earth. I often feel bad hyping it up so much because I feel like then people expect too much out of it, and I don't want to set up a false reality because it's not Disneyland. It's people live there, it's people's homes, and it is a tourist destination, but it's more of the vibe, and I'll get more into that because I feel like that's such a boring answer. I also hope the volume of my talking is okay, because I'm quite far from the mic as I was last time, because it picks up such good sound that I feel like I'm screaming. But the sound waves look okay, so hopefully it's alright. So why do I love this place? I've thought so much about this question in both a heartfelt sense and a logical sense, and the best I could come up with is that I belong there. Sounds silly, but truly that is the best solution I could come up with. I don't know if I have family ancestors from there. I'll never know because I'm actually adopted. So I don't know my ancestry. So I could have a tie to the witch trials or just Salem in general, New England. I don't know. But I guess how I found Salem, I obviously studied the Salem witch trials in school, in high school specifically. I remember the Crucible in English class, and I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if I was into the idea of visiting Salem before that or after that, or if that is what sparked my interest. I wish I remembered, but nonetheless, I remember being excited to read the Crucible, and I just love the Salem witch trials. I love history. Like, I love learning about history. I love museums. I love, like, when tour guides just, like, tell stories. Like, it's my favorite thing. I will stand there and listen to you for hours. But I don't know what about the Salem witch trials specifically drew me in. I will tell you, my first trip to Salem was when I was 16 years old, and I went in the summer of 2017 with one of my closest friends, and we just really wanted to go. She actually introduced me to the movie Hocus Pocus, which is now my favorite movie of all time. I had seen it a little bit when I was younger, but I was scared of it, so I never really looked into it again. But then she really introduced me to it, and now it's my favorite movie of all time. It's like half my personality. So that is why we wanted to go together, because obviously Hocus Pocus has a lot to do with Salem, and we knew there were filming locations in Salem. And so that's what brought us into the town. And it kind of just fell into place from there. I remember that trip, we were just running all over Salem. We had the best time ever. It was so fun to go into all the witchy shops and to see all the Hocus Pocus locations, go on a night tour. We actually went on the Hocus Pocus tour, which didn't have to do 100% with Hocus Pocus, but then I realized I loved that aspect. I loved learning more about the city that didn't just have to do with Hocus Pocus. I love how much history it has there. Everywhere you walk, there's a story to be told, and I could cry thinking about it. It's just such a thrilling place to be. So I definitely felt that in the summer of 2017, and then we loved it so much, we asked my parents to bring us back the next summer. So we went the next summer, the summer of 2018. And then I started college. So I didn't go in the year of 2019, but I remember just missing it so much. I've been to Disney World, I've been to Universal, I've been to like actual attractions, and I've never missed a place more than I did Salem. I just loved the history. We also went to Boston, and that was really fun. We went on the Ghosts and Gravestones tour. I think I just love Halloween so much that seeing a place that embraces it all year round, and like there's no like social norm, like people just do whatever they want there. They're openly queer. They're so accepting of all different walks of life. Witches, non-witches, anything you could think of. There's probably someone in Salem who has had experience with it or wants to share their story with you, and I just think it's a beautiful thing. I do live in New York, so it's pretty open here, but definitely not nearly as open-minded as Salem. Like, I could walk down the street in Salem in a full witch costume in the middle of July and no one would bat an eye, but here they definitely would. And I think I just love that like everyone is free to express themselves, and all the local shop owners are just so charming, and it's been such an honor and one of my favorite things to meet people who also feel the same way about Salem as me. At first, I didn't know that there was this community that loved Salem as much as I did. I thought I was just weird and like I didn't know what to think about it. And then I met these beautiful people online, whether it's just people commenting in my videos or friends I've made that I'm so excited to meet one day. Jessica, if you're watching, she is amazing. She loves Salem just as much as I do, and she's amazing. Her name is Pumpkin and Gray on here and on Instagram. Ashley LaBalvo, my good friend Ashley, she also makes videos on here, so go check them out. It's just so cool that I've met people that might be my neighbors one day, who knows. And I just love the little sense of community. Okay, I'm sorry if you hear chair squeaks. I'm gonna try and edit them out, but this chair is horrible. It's just so cool that I've met people with such common interests as me, and Halloween itself is not a holiday to me. It is a state of being. It's my full year-round decor. It's my whole personality, my world. The thing that makes me the most happy is Halloween season. So it's just to have that all year round in Salem is just great. And I haven't had anything similar to the feeling of when I go back to Salem. I hope that one day I get to live there and that living there doesn't ruin the vibe, but I don't think it will. knowing people that have moved to Salem because of how much they loved it and still enjoy it gives me hope. That tea is delicious. Holy crap. In fact, I love it so much, I got a tattoo the last time I was there. Believe it or not, my first time going to Salem during the Halloween season was my past trip to Salem, my 7th trip. Before that, I had never gone during October, which is crazy because usually people, I feel like that's when they go, but I've been in August 2017, August 2018, September of 2020, June of 2021, May of 2022, June of 2023, and October of 2023. And last year was the first time I went 2 times in a year. I think I'm doing it again this year. I'm praying all works out. I'm just going to keep visiting this place until I get to call it home. That's the truth of it all. But yeah, this past time I went to Acorn Tattoo and I got this little guy on my arm. For my audio listeners, it is an outline of a ghost holding a jack-o'-lantern, and it's on kind of like my bicep area, more front facing, and underneath it, it says Salem in this cute little font that is just such Salem vibes. So I had to get it. I felt like I've always wanted a tattoo in Salem. I am obsessed with tattoos. I love the look of them. I love that there's a story behind each one. I love little tattoos and I want to get a bunch more. But it's always been my goal and my dream, literally since I was there, day one, to get a tattoo in Salem. And I just never did until this past trip, and I'm so excited. I think I'm going to make it a tradition that every time I go, I'm going to get a new little tattoo. I might go back to Acorn Tattoo. I might try out Witch City Ink. I know there's a couple tattoo shops in Salem, so we'll see. But I really loved my experience at Acorn Tattoo. Such a cute little vibe in there. Those are all my trips. Nothing notable to remember. I just know that all of my trips combined are the reason why I love Salem. There's not one trip in particular where I felt that draw of energy. I think it was from the beginning, and each trip has been just as magical. And there are still things, believe it or not, that I have not done yet in Salem. But there are certain things that I've done every time I've gone. It really depends. I love just wandering around. And especially this past year, I've loved looking into the life of the locals, especially listening to Salem the podcast. And I also read this book, A Season with the Witch, by J.W. Ocker. I recommend it. I think it's very interesting. A man brings his family to Salem and stays there for the whole month of October and kind of explains some things, how it was, history and stuff. I thought it was really interesting. But since I'm looking to be a local, I kind of have been interested in the local life there. And I've made some cool connections, and I'm just really excited. It seems that there are so many events, even just for the residents year-round. Like, they just had Salem So Sweet. That was last month, I believe. It's like some sort of Valentine's Day event, and they have ice sculptures and stuff like that and cool things to do. They just had some sort of reenactment. I don't know, but I want to live in a town, kind of like the small town vibes where everyone knows each other. There's all these events that happen. There's this cool like community. Like, I never had that growing up. I don't love the town I grew up in. I am thankful for the life that I have been given and the opportunities I had growing up in this town. I'm not going to deny my privilege with that, but that being said, I don't vibe with the energy here. I don't vibe with the people here. No one here is like this, like me. And to be in a town that's so open-minded to everything and that sense of community, I feel it even though I'm not part of the community yet. And I think it's just a very special place that if you know, you know. And that's really the only way to explain it. One reason why I think I love Salem so much and why so many people are drawn to it, just like me, when you visit, you just know you have to keep coming back. I know I heard it in Salem. I believe it was on a walking tour. I don't remember which one. I've been on a lot. But I remember the tour guide saying Salem was some sort of host to this like energy crossover, basically. I forget the word for it. And I wish I could remember it because I think about it all the time. Where Salem holds so much energy that it's like a crossover point for a lot of like energy fields or something. And the energy, a lot of people feel that energy and that's why they keep coming back. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And also I'm convinced that I have ancestral ties to the town. I have, I don't know, past lives drawn to that town. I just think it's where I'm meant to be and it's where I'll end up. And it's probably where I'll end up dying as well. If you've never been to Salem, the best way I could describe it to you is the main part that I really have spent a lot of time and a lot of tourists seem to check out the most is the Essex Street Pedestrian Mall, which is basically Essex Street is a long street, but part of it is blocked off from cars. So it's just this street that you walk down, this bunch of shops. It's like pretty centrally located. The Salem Visitor Center is on that street, a bunch of witch shops, the Peabody Essex Museum, the Hawthorne Hotel is at the end of it, the Salem Inn is right off of it. There's a bunch of things that are there, and like during Halloween, that's where all like the costume characters are. You walk down the Ped Mall and then you see Bora the Witch or Jack or Brandon the Shapeshifter, like all the people. That's where they'll be, but it's also where the best shops are, in my opinion. It's definitely the most touristy little street. It's definitely the most touristy little part of the street, but it's super fun. The town hall is right off it as well. I think a lot of people ask me, like, what's my favorite thing to do there? What do you recommend doing? It really depends on the person. And I say this because Salem is so rich in history, not just from the witch trials. It's definitely well known for the witch trials. It's one of the bigger things that has happened there, but there's a boatload of other history that if you're into certain subjects, I'm sure there's something in Salem for you. Salem has a huge maritime history. It was the birthplace of the National Guard. First elephant to ever enter America entered through Salem. Obviously, there's big literary history there. The House of the Seven Gables, Nathaniel Hawthorne. The Parker brothers lived in Salem. Monopoly, Clue. There's been some true crime history, and there was a big fire. I think it was 1914. I don't know. The Great Salem Fire. They have a whole waterfront area, the wharf. It's so crazy to me that every time I go to Salem, I learn something new. You really don't know that until you go. Like, everywhere you go, there's like a story, and it's crazy. There's so much more than just the witch trials, and I honestly love that about it. And I think that's what I mean too when saying my love for Salem has changed over the years. But I think rather than changed, I think it expanded would be a better word. Nothing has changed. Everything that I used to love about Salem still stands, but I think I've just found more reasons to love Salem as the time has gone on. Every little fact I've learned, every new street I've walked down, there's so much you can learn about Salem even when you're not there. My main source of like learning things is Salem the podcast, just because they condense things really well. They're just so good at what they do. It's literally their job to like talk about history, so I love listening to them. Can't shout them out enough. Not that they need my help. They are much bigger than I am, but love them to death. Hope to meet them my next trip and convince them to be my friend when I move there. I just think it's so cool how something so tragic like the Salem witch trials has brought together a community. It's almost ironic because now Salem is the capital of witchcraft. There are all different types of witches there. The Satanic Temple, everything that the Puritans didn't want in Salem is now where people go to feel safe to practice witchcraft. A lot of people like me, they got into witchy stuff and they don't feel welcome in their town, but they go to Salem to feel welcome. And it's just very ironic that it's the complete opposite of what the Puritans would have wanted, and I think it's so cool and honestly well deserved. And I think it's very bittersweet. Like, obviously the victims, it's a sad topic, and me talking about it would not do it any justice. There's so much better resources out there than my knowledge at the moment, but I just think it's really cool that something so tragic could turn into something so beautiful this many years later. But I do think it's important not to forget and to definitely educate yourself on the witch trials and all the happenings of that. And if you take one walk down Essex Street or a couple streets over, you can walk into a museum and learn all about it. And I think also that is what made me fall in love with Salem so much too, is the dinky little museums that haven't changed since they've been opened. The Salem Witch Museum, a lot of people are underwhelmed by, understandably so. It's quite small, it's quaint, the wax figures are quite run down. However, I love it because it just has that charm, you know? Like, it's not Disneyland. It's not going to have these elaborate projections and this elaborate animatronics to tell you the story of the Salem witch trials. Like, this is not a story. It's history. It happened. So I think each little museum has its own charm. I love the New England Pirate Museum. I think it's called the Real Pirates Museum, opened up down the street. It's cool. But I remember loving the New England Pirate Museum. I've never been inside the Peabody Essex Museum, but I'm thinking sometime soon I'm gonna go in. If you want more history that doesn't have to do with the witch trials, that museum barely talks about the witch trials. Like, they really try not to. It's its own essence. So I know there's a lot of maritime history in there, but again, I can't speak from experience. I've never been in. Looking to change that soon. If anyone's looking for a buddy to join them on their Salem trip, I'm always down. My mom would surely love a break from Salem. I always drag her there with me because no one ever wants to go with me. It was very hard for me to come up with topics to talk about for this because of how broad Salem is and how broad the history is, how broad my love for it is, the things to do, the sights to see, the culture, the everything. Again, I just think it's so cool that these are people's homes. Like, this isn't an attraction. Like, this is their life. There's local schools. There's obviously people that work there. There's community events. Like, it's not just a tourist attraction. It's not Disney. It's not Universal. And I think people often forget that. They think it is, and it's not. I literally, like, think the locals are celebrities because I love them so much. Like, whenever I would hear on, like, tours and stuff, like, oh, this is, like, a really popular local spot, I'm like, I have to go. I need to meet these locals. Like, it's just so fun. I think all the people that live in Salem just have interesting stories, how they got there. Whether it be they were raised there or they moved from the South because they felt like they could thrive there. Like, there's different stories for everyone. I think a lot of people are living their dream by living there. I know I sure would be. And I think it's just such a beautiful thing that there's so many people that love this town so much. And obviously during Halloween is its thriving month. And I really got to see that and appreciate that this past trip. On the Salem Common, I was able to see the Haunted Happenings Market. I never got to see that before. And it was so cool to see, like, even locals coming out and supporting the fair. And I got to meet the Hocus Pocus cast on the Common. That was really cool. I'm hoping this upcoming October I get to do it again. They're coming back and I couldn't be more excited. It was very surreal for me to meet the Hocus Pocus cast in Salem because they're the reason I was brought to Salem in the first place, and because of them, their movie, that story, I have found the place I want to be my goal in life. Like, that's all I want in life, is to live there, to be able to afford to live there and feel my truest self. And it was surreal to go there and meet them and kind of just like have this full circle moment. Like, I was on the Salem Common with the cast of Hocus Pocus. It was so emotional for me. It still is. forget that it happened because it's too much to take in. Another thing I love about Salem, besides like shopping and all the cool museums and the Halloween all year round, the beautiful water, the everything about it, is the food. Oh my lord. Obviously, Salem is in New England. New England is known for its seafood, and boy does Salem do it good. The lobster shanty across from the town hall, first of all, beautiful view of the town hall. You could sit there and look at the town hall and feel like you're in Hocus Pocus. Their lobster roll is like no other. I love lobster roll specifically from... Every time someone asks me my favorite food, I get so specific. I'm like, okay, do you want my general answer or my specific answer? And obviously everyone's going to say specific because what does that mean? And I always say my favorite food is a lobster roll, specifically from Salem, Massachusetts, but somewhere in the New England area will do. Word for word, that's what I tell people. Connecticut style, of course, hot with the butter. Lobster shanty is delicious. They make it so good, and I always get their tater tots, and oh my god, it's just incredible, and I can't wait to go back and have it, even though my portions will be nowhere near where they used to be. It's fine. Another seafood place that's really good, Turner Seafood. Delish. But really, Salem has everything there is to offer. Obviously, there's cute as hell coffee shops, okay? Brewbox is so cute. I love it. I haven't really been to a lot of them, but I've seen a lot, and I want to try them because now I'm a coffee drinker. But there's also a lot of affordable dining options. I love Red's Sandwich Shop. It used to be the London Coffee House or something, where Patriots were like hang out. It was like a bar. I don't know. There's a lot of history there, but also their breakfast food is delish. It's a local favorite, so now it's my favorite. Their pancakes are literally bigger than your head. Their steak tip bennies is my favorite ever. My mom loves the pancakes, but really you can't go wrong. I've gotten their avocado toast, delish, but it's also really affordable. Like, me and my mom ate there for like $20. That's like unheard of. Another affordable option, the Ugly Mug Diner. Same kind of vibe, delish, cute small town vibes. Another quick option I like to recommend people is inside the Witch City Mall, and it's called, I think it's just called Essex Street Pizza or something. Their pizza's actually pretty good, and that's coming from a New Yorker, so you can trust my opinion. But specifically from there, I love their chicken Caesar salad wrap. Delish. It comes with grilled chicken, but last time I tried it with crispy chicken. And even though it's not as healthy, it's really good. So that's pretty affordable. Something quick you could eat, so you don't have to eat like super expensive restaurants all day. I also got a sandwich from Brewbox last time. It was like this veggie sandwich. Oh my goodness. It was delicious. Absolutely delicious. So flavorful. But the number one thing I recommend to people when they go to Salem, that I do every time, is the Salem trolley tour. Not only do you get to sit and relax and enjoy the beautiful views of Salem, you learn so much. Almost more than you would. You don't really learn about the witch trials on the Salem trolley tour, which I like about it. You get to see the willows, which I never saw before the trolleys. Beautiful, by the way. It's just like a bunch of willow trees, and there's like a community down there. You get to see Chestnut Street, which is insane. It's like a street of all mansions, all the wealthy people back in the day. I know there's an Airbnb down there that you could stay in a room, and it's like pretty affordable. They take you by the House of the Seven Gables and by America's oldest candy shop. That is also a fun fact about Salem. They have America's oldest candy shop, Ye Old Pepper Company. And there's always new businesses opening, but it's really cool to see the old ones. Like, that candy shop has been open for so long, and they have the best chocolate turtles. Oprah loves those turtles as well, fun fact. Yeah, I definitely feel lucky to have found something and somewhere to be so passionate about, to find like the little things in life that make you happy, Salem being one of mine. It just really gives me something to strive for, because that's literally my goal in life, just to get there and be there. Salem is not a tourist destination for me. It's my home away from home. The things you see and the things you're a part of while you're there are like no other. And it sounds very dramatic. And like, I guess a person who doesn't really love Halloween and doesn't really love witchy stuff would go there and be like, I don't get the hype. And I think that's what's beautiful about it. It's not for everyone. It's for a very select group of people like myself, like probably you if you're watching this, that really feel the special energy there, that feel connected there, that are just at home there. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. And it makes me so emotional because I just love that place more than anything. And anyone I get to share the experience with, it's an honor. And it's really one of my favorite things that since I upload vlogs from Salem, a lot of people ask me questions about where to stay, where to go, what to do. And genuinely, if I can make a career out of planning people's Salem trips, I would, because it's my favorite thing ever. I love to plan Salem trips. It's just like, if you tell me about your personality, I can make you a perfect itinerary based on your personality and your interests. There's really something for everyone, and I truly believe that. Not just around Halloween, I think all year round. I am a firm believer that Salem is underrated. I say very loosely because I think it is overrated during the Halloween season, but every other season, it's a little underrated. There's some great hidden gems there. Social media could really make this city thrive more than it already has, but also I want to gatekeep it because I love that place and I don't want it to be uninhabitable. Is that the right word? I don't want it to become too popular so I can't live there or enjoy myself, but I really do think it's one of the best places on earth. And I know that is such a crazy thing to say because I haven't been everywhere and nobody is going to agree with me besides my Salem people. And I love that I could say that, my Salem people, because truly there are people that exist that are like me, that want to live there. And I think that's the majority of the people that live there. There's just so many things to see. Hocus Pocus locations, museums, tours. There's like over 70 night tours. There's over 70 walking tours. There's the trolley tour, obviously, I talked about. There's local stuff that always happens. There's food. There's the water. There's just, I think everyone can find something that they would absolutely adore there. And yeah, I think one of my favorite trips has to be the one I was just on, just because I got to see my favorite city thrive in the chaos. Even if you're not a big Halloween fan, if you're a horror fan, there's lots of horror stuff you could check out. There's ghost tours, there's vampire tours. They have a vampire ball every year. Like, are you kidding me? This is just a place I need to be. And I can never stress that enough. I feel silly saying it over and over again because I know that people don't get it, you know? But there are some people who do get it. And I love you if you do. Let's be friends. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for today's episode. I didn't really get into anything specific. I wanted this to be a very surface level video so that if you want advice on Salem, or if you want a full podcast episode of like the perfect itinerary of Salem, or for me to dive into a certain part of history of Salem, I wanted it to be very basic so that I could make this a Salem series if you would like to see that. This is just kind of an overview of how much I love it and some things about it. You know, I didn't really have a plan as far as like what to talk about when, so sorry if this was like all over the place. I definitely want to use this podcast as my way of just talking in a longer format and not boring you on the vlog. But if you're an audio listener, Hello, I do have a YouTube channel, Heather Huff, if you want to see more. Thank you so much for listening and for watching. Again, this is the Always Anxious podcast. Make sure you follow along, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.